Good evening and welcome to episode 315 of the Private Property Podcast. I'm your host, Zamantungwa Khumalo. It's the Wednesday edition of the Private Property Podcast, and as you know, every second Wednesday we have somebody from the Absa Home Loans team joining us, and I'll be introducing two amazing women from the Absa Home Loans team that we're going to be talking to. But if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to it. You're tuned into the only daily property podcast in South Africa. Do make sure that you go over to our Facebook or our YouTube page to catch up on all the great content that you've already missed out on. And to all our regular viewers on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on YouTube, welcome back. It certainly is great to have you with us. You know how we do it. Every single weekday, you and I have an appointment at 7 p.m. where we're always tackling a hot property topic and in conversation with experts who can help us make better property decisions. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing this evening. But before we get to that, as you know, we are running an incredible competition on our social media pages. You probably would have seen it on Facebook, where we are certainly counting down to reaching 1 million followers on our Facebook page. We've shared all the great competition details on Facebook. So do make sure that you go there to check it out. We want to make sure that we reach the 1 million followers. We want to get more people watching us, more people engaging with us, and of course, more people commenting at home. So do remember to also share, the live that as you are watching us at home, especially over on Facebook, so that more of your friends and family can see that you're always tuned into the Private Property Podcast every single weekdays at 7. All you have to do at home to stand a chance of walking away with some cash for this particular competition is, of course, tune in every day and watch us live on the Private Property Podcast with myself, Zamantungwa Khumalo, and R1 in cash. We will be announcing the winner halfway through the show. So halfway through the show, I will say this is the person who has, commented the most and that has been randomly selected to walk away with the cash prize. And you have to claim the prize while we are still live on air, because if you don't claim the prize while the show is still live, then it rolls over. So the money bag can certainly get bigger and bigger and bigger at home. So if you want your share, make sure that you participate, comment, share as much as you can. Then also tune in live so that should your name be called out, you are able to claim your prize. That certainly is that easy for you to walk away with 500 rands in cash. I know that it has rolled over from yesterday. We didn't have somebody claiming their money in time, so it has rolled over this evening, so you can look forward to standing a chance of even winning more cash. So do watch out for that. So if you know that you have entered the competition, you stand a chance of walking away with 1,500 rands this evening. So you definitely do want to get your hands on that cash. Well, this evening, as I said, we're tackling something that I'm very excited about, as you all know, and with two amazing women from the Absa Home Loans team, we're going to be looking at women changing the face of home ownership. A lot of us know how, as women, we're certainly playing a huge role in changing how home ownership looks like. And we're going to get a really great sense of the extent to which we've done that and some of the things that women absolutely have to be aware of throughout their home ownership journey. And to help us get a better sense of how we are changing the shape of home ownership this evening, I'm joined by Zydah Manuel, who's a portfolio manager for the first-time home buyers market at Absa Home Loans, as well as Kamini Ramsamy, who is the head of risk management acquisitions at Absa Home Loans. Ladies, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Zama, nice to be here. Thanks for having us again.
Kamini, I want to start with you on this one. When we reflect on the history of women owning property in South Africa, we know that women of color were particularly excluded from buying property and even denied access to credit. Perhaps take us through, let's take the historical context first, because I think it's so important to just understand how far we've come as women in our ability to even get something like credit to do whatever it is that we want to do with it.
Yeah, well, I guess we've certainly come a long way, Zama. I mean, there were times when women did not even have rights to own property, and I mean, look at us now. We enjoy full property ownership. If you think back many, many years ago, if a woman had to bring a property into the marriage, in a trust, the husband actually enjoyed, the husband had full control over that property, because women were actually seen as minors, and it's really only in the early 1970s when women started to apply for credit lines, and apply for property finance. And still there was a challenge, because women were seen as thin fowl, not having enough credit or any credit lines. And that posed a challenge in terms of how women were assessed at that point in time. And I guess when property ownership or property finance essentially opened up to women, Black women were also excluded from that. And it's really only in 1996, when the Bill of Rights, where women were actually seen as equal citizens. And still we had challenges. We had challenges with Black women who were married under the customary law, and they had challenges with owning land. And it was really only in 2018 when the Constitutional Court recognized the rights for women to own land. So whether you're living in South Africa, whether you're living, outside South Africa, we as women, no matter your race, your color, your marital status, we've really come a long way when it comes to property ownership. And I guess also just having that full financial autonomy as a woman.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's such an important one. I certainly want to, see the green hearts from particularly the women this evening. And it can be whether you are a woman who's a homeowner, a woman who's renting, because I think we take it for granted how much it also just takes for you as a woman to find your own place and rent by yourself, or perhaps rent with your friends. It really is a big step to be able to have your own place that you call your own. So it doesn't matter whether you're renting or you've gone and taken it to the next level of buying your own home. I want to see the green hearts from you at home. So women who's living in her own place, bought your own property, I certainly do want to see more of you raising your hands. And Zydah, when we look at then the motivations driving women into home ownership, can you share with us what some of them specifically tend to be, when you look at some of the trends where women opt to buy their own homes?
Thanks, Amma. I think home ownership indeed is mirroring change in the economic power between men and women. And there's an increase in women entering the formal employment sector, which enables them an increase in salary, taking up different leadership roles. And that gives them access to higher incomes and access to actually enter the property market as such. And I think that then enables some women even to start thinking of investing in property, purchasing their first, or even trying to grow a property portfolio. There's women that are also seeking, single women seeking security for their kids from a long-term perspective. Also, women looking to, as mentioned, growing a property portfolio or future investments. There's also some young families who are looking to going from renting a property to owning a property as such. And then, of course, we have some women are first generation in their families to go to university, enter formal employment, and is actually seeking, to buy a home for the extended family. And I think all of these factors, they really is drivers of women participating and being economically active, and also entering the property market. And I think it also gives you a sense of independence and security, and that it's a need, and definitely something that a lot of us aspire to, but especially something really big for women, as Kamini has mentioned. We've come a long way.
Mm-hmm. And we certainly have come a long way. Of course, at Home Future, when I was looking at home ownership, the women changing the face of home ownership in South Africa. I want to hear from the women at home, whether you're a homeowner yourself or you're renting. I want to see those green hearts down here below, just so other women who are probably still thinking about, especially home ownership, or still maybe on the fence, and also want to get a bit of encouragement of seeing other women being able to do it. Because I know one of the things that I also struggled with quite a lot when I first kind of started getting serious about, wanting my own home and wanted to buy a home was I was in my early 20s, sort of 22, 23, and I started working and I started viewing different properties and just feeling very anxious about that first, buy, and even feeling more anxious about taking on such a huge debt. I think at the time I was looking at like 2-bedroom apartments in Midrand, and they were going for like anything between like your 400 to, I think I was looking to just under 550. And just the thought of taking on that amount of debt, I was like, oh my God, this is so much money. And I mean, one of the considerations, and I always kick myself when I talk about this, because I know that it's not a reality now, but certainly back then, I mean, this is about 7 or so years ago, was I was very single. And we're not having like hashtags like girls with title deeds, for example, on your social media. So young women buying properties was not quite a thing as it is now. And I love that we've made it a thing. And there was a sense of anxiety around, oh my God, I'm single. Maybe I should first sort of wait to, get partnered and get in a fairly serious relationship before thinking of buying, my own property. And I think when we look at other young women who've been able to buy a property and unmarried, or if you're single, it certainly is encouraging. And I think it's one of those things where that as a woman, you're also giving each other permission to do it, that you shouldn't have the fear based on not being married or not being in a serious relationship. So ladies, I certainly do want to see more of those green hearts from you down here below, because we know how that's a thing we think about. We sometimes don't want to publicly admit it, but it certainly is something that we consider. And I see some of the love that we're already getting on our Facebook page from Ukutso Ramuhlale. I see you, Sharon Shaz Naidu. I see you. We've also got a Kenan McLaren. I also see, and I think one of the really great things about being able to, certainly for me, buying a property young and then being very scared, and then only a few years later buying it, I kicked myself in the foot, because when I look at the same properties I was viewing when I was 22, when I started getting serious again, so at about 26, I saw and this is in the Midrand area, so I have to give context. I was saying I was looking at 400 to 550. Those very same properties, very same complexes are now going for 800, even 900K. I know not every area appreciates like that, but it certainly did give me context about if I understand property a bit more and put work into understanding the context, there certainly is a lot of potential even into, I want to bring you in, Kamini, when we then look at some of the trends when it comes to, trends that we're seeing when women are buying. Perhaps share with us what some of the trends we're seeing in terms of women owners in South Africa.
The trends are actually quite interesting, because what we see more females own properties than men. So we saw that trend pre-COVID, and we're seeing that trend, post us coming out of the hard lockdown into H2. So it's very, very interesting. We saw an increase in female first-time home buyers. We're seeing an increase in single female buyers as well. So I think it's also very nice when you're looking at those trends to look at the age bands, to look at the reason for buying the property. Are females buying it because it's a first-time property? It's used for investment. What are the average purchase prices? What are the dynamics across the different regions that we're seeing? So I think let's look at the age band, which is actually quite interesting. there's this disparity on the, on the tails of the age bands. So what you actually see on the age band where consumers are below 30 years old, you find we have more males who buy properties there. And if you look at the age bands that are 50 years plus, you find there are more females than males that buy properties there. Now, in the early 20s or under 30s, we have more males because males are more prone to take risks. They buy properties at a younger age. They make good returns. Where women are also, like you say, in their 20s, they're a little bit less confident, less bold about making that decision. I was 26 when I bought my first property, and I must admit, I thought I was signing my life away. It was quite a daunting experience. But it's nice to see now. It's very nice to see now, coming out of COVID as well, a lot of young women under the age of 35 buying their first property, being bold about that, about taking that decision. Very good trends there. The 50 plus women are more established. If you look at the employment, a lot more women are working now. A lot more women are taking on senior roles. They've earned leadership roles. They're much more financially stable. So as they get older, they will tend to, look at investing in that security, investing in that asset, trying to control assets and trying to, achieve much more of that financial independence that they've had throughout. So I think you see a lot of that in the 50 plus. What's also interesting, if you look at across the different regions in South Africa, what we have seen in early 2021, we've seen more property applications in Gauteng, KZN for females than for males. I'm talking single females now. The other interesting thing is if you look at, the reason, we still have more males buying properties to invest than females, but we're starting to see an increase in females buying properties for investment. And I think lastly, the average purchase price. Men tend to buy more or buy properties with a higher purchase price than women, but we're now also seeing women starting to buy high-priced properties, or the average purchase prices of properties that women are buying have actually increased by around 30% year on year. That's very interesting to see. And I think it's nice to see women coming out there, women now buying properties and making those big decisions.
And it's absolutely incredible to see that, as Kamini has pointed out. We're seeing the love that we're getting from you in social media, especially on our Facebook Live. I see you, Messi, Nepipidi, as well as Kellen Alvins. And of course, I want to see more of those green hearts, especially to the women who are homeowners right now. As we're looking at, women changing the face of home ownership. We've got a comment coming through from Obutlale Ramurula saying women are definitely changing the face of home ownership. Indeed, hashtag 1 million followers. And on that hashtag of 1 million followers, we are of course going to announce the lucky winner who's certainly standing a chance of walking away with that 1,500 rands if they claim their money before the end of the show. Let's see who that lucky winner who's been certainly going to be randomly selected is going to be. And that lucky winner is Upesi Ndombela. So Upesi Ndombela, we certainly want to hear from you. So make sure that you message us in order to claim your prize. You're potentially going to walk away with that 1,500 rands. Remember, you have to do it while we are still live. And if Upesi Ndombela doesn't get back to us in time, then the money is going to roll over in the money bag. So Upesi Ndombela, make sure that you certainly get back to us before the end of the show. Now, Kamini, I want to bring you back. When we look at, the interest rates, one of the conversations I always have, I always feel as though as particularly unmarried women, we tend to get unfavorable interest rates. I see it in almost every quote I get, and when I do a comparison to some of my female friends who are married, I find that the comparatives don't quite stack up, and I know that different factors typically go into it, but our risk profiles, I'd say, are relatively similar. Can women receive favorable interest rates when it comes to accessing a home loan? Because, as I said, I already have that perception about things like my insurance and every other thing I have to get quoted on. So when it comes to then the home loan interest rates, how favorable are the rates when it comes to women in general, but also unmarried women?
So when you apply for a home loan, okay, we have the banks or the financial institutions have to first try and assess the risk of that customer, the risk of the deal. Okay, so in order to do that, we would look at your historic prepayment behavior. We would look at affordability, which is very much aligned to the National Credit Act amendment. We would look at how much of skin you are putting into the game. For example, the deposit that you're putting into the property that you're purchasing. So we'd look at that criteria in terms of trying to determine a risk. Some financial institutions could also look at the area that you're buying the property, and that would determine the overall risk of what we call the deal or the application. And then obviously, once we determine that, we price for the risk. Now, let's go back to the risk assessment. Like I've said, affordability, very much straightforward there. When it comes to determining the probability or what is the likelihood that you will actually repay this home loan, there are different tools that we use. There's scorecards, there's risk assessment models. And if I think back more than 10, 12 years ago, the credit bureaus used to have demographic scorecards and behavioral scorecards. Demographic would consist of things like marital status, gender, but financial institutions, when it comes to traditional tools, have moved away from a lot of those demographics, in assessing a customer. Marital status may still fare in some of those traditional models, but it's very much obviously driven by past behavior, historic behavior. What we have seen in the past is that women do have better or tend to repay a home loan better than males. But in traditional models, very rarely you use these types of demographics. And if you do, the weighting on these demographics is actually very low in terms of making that decision for the customer. However, there are things like machine learning models or tools where we've now advanced. And with machine learning, you tend to use a lot of factors, to try and slice and dice that customer to determine a more accurate view of the risk of that deal. And what you find in like machine learning models, they would tend to have a lot more demographics there. But like I've said, the weighting of those demographics is actually very low in terms of making that decision. If you find a tool that is heavily weighted towards females or towards marital status, I would deem that to be quite a weak tool. Now, going back to the price, once we determine the risk of that customer, we then price for that risk. Of course, when it comes to Women's Month, there could be campaigns in the market. We could have financial institutions saying women would get a preferential rate in the month of August. But from a business as usual, there's no preferential rates or price for a woman versus a male.
Mm-hmm. And Zydah, so I want to bring you in on this one. So if we're not getting special rates because we're women, and already, my general stance is women should be paying less for a lot of things because we labor so much in so many other areas. But unfortunately, business doesn't quite work like that, particularly in this particular front. So if we're not getting special rates because we're women, how can we as women, best position ourselves to be able to get good rates? So what are some of the other factors or things that we can do in order to be applying for a home loan facility?
So Zama, I think the first thing is the best thing to do is to educate yourself and get yourself prepared for home ownership and what is it actually all about, the property market. So at Absa, we have great pre-buying and educational tools that's available on our Absa website that is accessible to open market use. And these tools will help you make the best decisions and really educate you about the journey you would embark on. So we've got great tools such as a pre-qualification tool, which is our home loan estimator. This will help you to determine what you could qualify for from an affordability perspective before you start shopping around for your property. Our second great digital tool that we have is our Absa My Homeowner Journey. It's an e-learning home ownership educational tool. It teaches you all the ins and outs of home ownership, the entire buying process, registration process, maintenance process. So I think it's really, really great to have that in-depth insight about home ownership, different type of properties, different the attorney processes, building a property versus buying a freestanding property, as an example. We also have other great tools such as a Knowledge Hub Center. We've got a lot of different articles that speaks about home ownership and property-related matters. And then, of course, they're all available on our Absa website. We've got great bond calculators to help you make those sums to determine what's your affordability, what does your budget look like as well, and what would be the cost of some of the attorney fees associated to the property that you're interested in purchasing. And these calculators can help you, work out your sums based on your budget and your affordability. And then also, from a women perspective, there's different networks and organizations out there that really empowers women and drives thought leadership, such as the Women Property Network. They're really there to drive thought leadership, to learn, connect, empower women in the property and home ownership market. And I think these organizations is good also to join and listen to conversations, because they really empower women, to enter the property market and to learn more about it and be brave and bold as well. Thanks.
And I think, talking of networks like your Women Property Network, it's such an incredible network. I'm a part of it, and some of the great events that they host are so beneficial, I think, to women who are in the property sector or looking to certainly have a better understanding of how to navigate the industry as real estate professionals.
Yeah.
I think last month there was actually even a great session that they had around women on boards, and sort of helping women who want to get on boards, obviously women within the sector who are looking to get on boards, and how to best equip yourself, and really having such an interesting conversation about even some of the, I'll say, insecurities women face when it comes to the board conversation, and how we can best navigate it as much as possible. So it really is beneficial. And I always say, try to join different kinds of networks or different kinds of communities where you're able to learn as much as you can about home ownership. And I think one of the really great ones, of course, is watching the show every weekday at 7. We certainly have a great community on our Facebook page where we're very encouraging when it comes to your home ownership journey, and helping you make sense of some of the things that you might be struggling with. Now, Zydah, before we wrap up, I know that Absa doesn't have any propositions, specifically for women when it comes to home ownership, but perhaps share ones that we certainly must be aware of, or should be aware of as women, that Absa does have, that we're also able to take advantage of.
Thanks, Amma. We've got great products available to the market, right from a first-time buyer, you're buying your home for the second time, or you'd like to be an investor. We've got tailor-made solutions. So from a first-time buyer perspective, we've got our My Home proposition, which really gives you access to a 50% attorney discount. You have access to our financial planning consultants that can give you a financial needs analysis. Also access to a free home ownership course that teaches you more the ins and outs of home ownership. And we have a great proposition for young professionals where we offer a loan of up to 105% home loan offering. We give you access to our various insurance solutions, which is important when you purchase a home. You've got to make sure you make a good choice around the insurance solutions. We give you an attorney discount on your bond registration costs. And of course, you can also then ensure that you manage your asset by drafting a will with the bank and ensuring that you leave your asset to somebody in case of, so that you can plan accordingly. And then for investors, we've got a great investor offering. Our buy-to-let offering is really great. We offer great tools and tenant management solutions. We also consider future rental income as part of your assessment for affordability, as part of your application. And I think for more information about our offerings and our products that we have, you can visit our Absa website. But like, as I've mentioned, we've got tailor-made offerings for the different type of property for the customer in the market that wants to purchase property. Thanks.
And I do urge, particularly women, to check out some of the different offers, because I think one of the things, especially if I look at first-time home buyers, is that they typically tend to not know about the different things that you must budget for. And if you're a young professional, you're certainly able to take advantage of the 105% home loan. And even if you already have funds, I tend to find, qualifying for a bigger amount when you've already put down the deposit and you had the funds, to pay for the transfer. It helps you in the long run if you want to be able to access that money within the home loan facility. So there are always creative ways that you're able to take advantage of having taken up a slightly higher bond. And that's if you're just savvy about it. And of course, if you probably want to go into investing in property. Before I let you go, I think, Kamini, last one from your side, any final tips, particularly for women, this Women's Month, who are exploring getting into property or exploring, making that leap and buying their first property?
Look, I think women are very modest. We're very humble. We are in our minds, we are rock stars. We do 100 things, and we are, we achieve a lot, but we don't make it vocal. If you want to obviously take your place on the table, or you want to make a big bold decision, make it heard. Be more vocal. It's Women's Month. So I think that's big advice to women. Share your stories as well. If you bought property, share those stories, share your experiences. You don't know who you might inspire to buy their first property.
And Zydah, on your end, any final words for the women at home who are watching us when it comes to their home ownership journey?
I think we play different roles in society, Zama. We are multifaceted in different ways. And I think we should own our success in whichever form that we achieve success. We should own it. We should empower ourselves and influence others too. As Kamini mentioned, share your story, own your success, be an influence to somebody else. And we're bold and brave, and we play many roles. And purchasing property is a sense of security and independence. And I think that's something that really is really empowering to many. And I think as a female, own your success and speak about it, and be one of the women that lifts others up. So rise as we live. So I think that's important. Empowered women empowers others. And I think that's the narrative that I'd like to leave for this evening. Thanks, Amma.
And it's a great note to leave it at. Brag about your successes, and it can be whether you're renting out your new apartment, whether you've bought a new apartment, whether you've bought a new rug for your apartment. How expensive rugs are. You've just remodeled part of your home. Whatever it is, don't be scared to brag about it. I know that we tend to feel some type of way, especially when it comes to bragging about some of our successes. Well, we are going to leave it there this evening. Zydah and Kamini, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And that is Kamini Ramsamy, who is the Head of Risk Management Acquisitions at Absa Home Loans, as well as Zydah Manuel, who's the Portfolio Manager for First-Time Home Buyers, also from the Absa Home Loans team. We didn't hear from Upesi Ntombela, who was going to be the winner of that 1,500 rands. So it does roll over to tomorrow. So remember, participating, you know that you've shared, you know that you've commented, you know that you've tagged your friends. Make sure that you watch the show live. So if we call your name, you can be able to claim your prize. Tomorrow it's going to be even more money. I want to give this money away. We haven't had a winner since we've started. It keeps rolling over. I mean, I guess the rollover is great for once it reaches a certain amount, whoever wins ends up, winning a big amount of money. But do make sure that if you've entered, you watch the show live so that you can claim your prize. Well, that's where I'm going to leave it this evening on the Private Property Podcast with myself, Zamantungwa Khumalo. It has been a pleasure to be with you. I see we keep having more and more internet issues. We're going to certainly get to it. I don't know why the internet gods are against us these days, but we're certainly going to address it and see more of my face during the show. Well, I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of the First Time Home Buyers Show with Esty Clarkson coming to your screens at 8 p.m. The absolutely phenomenal Lulu Mutsukira is Esty's guest. You do not want to miss that one at 8 p.m. I'll be back on your screens tomorrow at 7. Until then, hoping you're staying home and staying safe.